Yeah, we review. We have ongoing training on a continuous basis. We review phone calls. So when you call us and you get that little message, your call may be recorded for training purposes. It is literally being recorded for training purposes. We go over those calls. We want to know, hey, what we get right, what we get wrong. We listen to those calls from a standpoint of the driver's trying to tell you something and you didn't give them a chance. Truth be told, a good recruiter only does 30% of the talking. 70% of the talking is done by the driver because the driver is the one that holds the answers to everything. The driver is the person that ultimately knows what it is that they want. So if it feels like your recruiter is trying to get you to share more and spill the beans, they literally are. Because at the end of the day, I can give you a bunch of information and I can throw figures and stats at you, but you hold the answer to everything, what you want to do. And so as a recruiter in that training is the biggest part is shut up and listen. As a recruiter, you have to shut up and listen. If you don't do that, if you start rambling, it feels good because you're talking. So it feels like you're doing a good job. People, if you're a recruiter, you probably enjoy talking if you're doing that for a living. But at the end of the day, we listen to the calls, and did you shut up and listen? Did you pick up on 2 to 3 things that driver, that prospective candidate's looking for? From there, we generally get into best practices, and we start looking at our most successful recruiter, not just from a sheer volume standpoint, but we also look at turnover by recruiter. So which recruiter has the lowest turnover rate? Over the course of a year, it's not luck. You might say over the course of 1 week, there could be luck. It's a small sample size. Over the course of 12 months, if you have a recruiter that historically has a 20% lower turnover rate, that's not luck. There's a reason behind it. That recruiter most likely has done a really good job of listening. That recruiter's most likely done a really good job of targeting and working with the drivers that most likely will fit into the roles that they have available. And not wasting the time of the driver that has no chance of one of those roles just because of their background or what they're looking for. From there, we really get into the recruiter understanding that the business that they're in. So our recruiters, as an example, they will have a meeting where they're going to meet with the operational team at least once a quarter, a meeting with the maintenance team, a meeting with the HR team. The recruiter should have a comprehensive understanding. They do not need to be an HR expert or operations expert, but that recruiter should have a clear understanding of their place within the organization, and in particular the driver life cycle, how they're going to work with each department within the organization. If your recruiter that you're working with internally doesn't have that knowledge, it's hard as a driver to trust what they tell you. And it's not that they're lying to you, it's the fact that they don't know a whole lot. If all they know is on a script, and you have any question that goes off that script, that recruiter is not going to be an asset to you. So we're a big believer that recruiter needs to understand the organization that they're in, understand, hey, if the driver has this issue, who do they talk to? If the driver has that issue, who do they talk to? And then lastly, over the next 12 months, we specifically have a lady named Lorena. She's based out of Mexico, but she's been with our organization for a long time. She literally is going to handhold with a driver for their first 6 months. And she works with them that if there's any issues whatsoever, she's going to talk to them. She wants to know, hey, do you have an issue? Tell it. Don't wait. Well, the recruiter gets involved with that because it's a training opportunity. So if, Kameel, we hired you 2 weeks ago, and you have a concern that you don't know how to address something on the equipment as an aspect, and you tell Lorena that, the recruiter is involved with that because they need to understand it may have been a training opportunity. It may have been that the recruiter wasn't clear about something with the equipment that you wanted to know. So it's going back and revisiting those hires after the fact and understanding what could we have done different. Just because a driver stays does not mean we did a perfect job. It means that we need to follow up and could we have made that segue better? Because the ultimate goal is, how do I make the experience better for the driver 6 months from now, 12 months from now, 18 months from now? Just because you stay, if I increase struggles for you in the first 90 days because I didn't recruit you correctly, I'm excited that you stayed, but I also cut out the productivity for our truck and for you as the driver in those early stages because I didn't make that segue smooth. So there's a lot of ongoing training that, to be honest, never really ends, but over the next 12 months, it gets into that driver life cycle above and beyond.
I like that a lot because you're gonna always fail as a carrier, as an agency. but learning from them and listening to what everybody is saying, listening to the recruiter, listening to the driver, definitely. And it's a lot of similarities in what you said as far as what we do at Rig on Wheels with the recruiters. And then, of course, there's some differences because we are third party. So we're not married to any one carrier. But because we are recruiters, there are some similarities. So we definitely do ongoing sales and recruitment training. Definitely. And I know that Pearson and I are both old school because we both say the same thing, but mine might be a little bit more. I don't know how to say this, but I say the art of shut up. Like literally, I have that written in an email. You have to learn the art of shut up because you have to know, listen to your driver. You shouldn't be the one talking all the time. He or she is not going to feel comfortable with telling you what's going on if you feel the need to ramble and talk about your situation. It's listening to your driver, what's going on in their life. um, as far as that, real big on the training factor because each tenure, first of all, when they start, and depending on what's going on, you'll have times or seasons that are going to be easier than others. I'm trying to see how I'm actually trying to say it. When you recruit a driver in November, it's definitely going to be different than when you recruit a driver in April, right? So our training that we do in Rig on Wheels and the support system that we need to do for a driver is different. But also, we really talk to our drivers to ask questions. We rely on social media, the DMs, all of that. But we have trusted drivers that we literally ask questions. So, how did this go at this company? How did we do? What could we do better? So, even if they stayed at the company, even if we got paid for them, went to orientation, but it still could have been something that we could have done differently, we try to know that so it can go smoother the next time. Just like Pearson says, when you hear that whole the recording because of what does it say, Pearson? Because of training purposes, we do the
Yep.
same thing for training purposes. And then at Rig on Wheels, with our recruiters, when they know a call didn't go quite well, they have the power to listen to their own phone calls. They'll stop and listen to their own phone calls to say, was this right or did I do wrong? Or if they're not sure as far as what happened on that phone call, just to follow up, they'll listen again just to review their phone calls, just to make sure that they heard the driver correctly, because we never want to quote a driver incorrectly. So a lot of the same similarities. So I just wanted to review or recap on that as well. So I guess we can, what were you about to say?
Yeah, and I will say a lot of times when we have a driver that says, well, I said this, and we go back and listen to the phone calls, it is not to prove the driver right or wrong. It's not to prove the recruiter right or wrong. The issue is much larger than that one recruiter and that one driver. It is going through that life cycle, and are we missing something? So those recordings are not, I can't emphasize enough, because it's not trying to spike the football on somebody. It's not trying to listen to the phone call and go, haha, I'm right, you're wrong, or vice versa. It is what we do today, the training that we do today, and the efforts that we make today are what impacts how well we do our job 6 months from now. So as a driver, I would also say at any company that you have calls recorded on, and there seems to be a disparity after you're hired on, request to listen to those calls. Request that your recruiter listen to those calls, because most recruiters are not liars. Most recruiters are not trying to do wrong by the driver. Most recruiters, where they get themselves into trouble is because they answered a question that they don't know the answer to. And I'm much rather, as a driver, have a recruiter say, I don't know, but I'll get you the answer. That is a sign of a really good recruiter. If you're a driver and you have a recruiter that's willing to say, I don't know, you should get encouraged by that. Now, they got to follow through and get you the answer. So it's not just the I don't know part of it. But anytime I have somebody that's a recruiter that says, I don't know, but I will find out for you, as a driver, you are dealing with a recruiter that you probably want to be on the phone with.
Thanks for that follow-up, Pearson, because I agree with all of that. It's not for the one-offs. It's definitely for the overall. That's what the recordings are for, is for the overall, because it's 100% to make the entire process work better. That's what we're looking for.